Anthropic just released Claude for Excel and there's been a ton of hype around it, so let's see how it actually performs. We'll test it with realistic examples in four main categories, which are data cleaning, financial modeling, which is supposed to be one of its big strong points, data analysis, and creating visuals like charts and dashboards. Let's get into it. First up, to install it, you just want to go over under add-ins in your homepage, and if you go over to more add-ins, here you can look it up. If I just type Claude, it should show up in a second. As you can see, it's this one right here, Claude by Anthropic in Excel, and you just want to add it. In my case, I already have it, so I can just go to open, and you can see it's here on the side. It's currently in beta mode, and you will need a paid version to use it. So starting off with a data cleaning example, over here you can see we have this file that actually has a few different errors. First of all, under the company name here, a few of the names are duplicated. Amazon and Amazon with an extra A are obviously the same company. Let's see if it's able to detect those. Under the name, you can see like Emma has a spacing before the E here. That's obviously a mistake. And one trickier one under the amount, you'll notice this 7301, that 0 is actually an O. So let's see if it's able to detect them. We'll select this whole area. You can see how it shows that it's been selected. And here, let's say, clean up the data. See what happens there. I'm gonna keep it a bit generic with the prompt. Depending on which Claude model you prefer to use, you can change it up over here on the top left. As you can see, it's firstly identified the Amazon. That's a mistake. It's also identified the Amazon.com. That's a nice detail. Under the names, it's been able to find those spaces, so that's very promising. And even under the amounts, you can see it's detected that 0 has the letter O in it, so it's been changing that. And we scroll down to the bottom and it's made all of those changes for us. That's actually a very impressive start. And now let's go over a follow-up question. For instance, you can see here as the order dates, I don't actually want to see the year, so maybe I put something like this on the side. On the dates, I want them to be formatted as day-month, like 25 Jan. Hit enter there and let's see if it's able to make those changes. Awesome, you can see it's been able to do that formatting for us quite nicely. We're off to a very promising start, and in data cleaning, another of the key aspects is debugging formulas. For instance, over here, you might get a file that has a bunch of errors in them, like this name error and this value error on the side. So we want to try to find out why these errors are happening. Let me first quickly show you. This one right here, the reason for the error in the if statement, we're saying, hey, if the revenue is above 2000, I want it to say high, if not say low. Is because this stuff, like the high and the low, because it's text, it should be in quotations. Then over here to the side, I think we're looking for the revenue for Emma. And the reason this one's giving us an error is because they're not of the same length. So the staff area in red here should be the same length as the revenue, but we've selected an extra cell here on the bottom, hence the error. So what we can do is go into Claude in Excel and create a new chat by pressing on this button to clear this chat. We'll clear it and get started and just say debug the formulas in this sheet. Hit enter there and let's see what it comes up with. The first problem it's found is that this whole name area is actually not in quotations, so not enclosed in quotes. It's been able to detect that and it's giving us the suggested fix. Same thing with the second one, it's finding that the sum range doesn't match the criteria range, so we have that extra cell selected. So I'm just gonna go yes, make the changes. Awesome, so you can see it's corrected this part with quotations, and for this other one, it selected the relevant range by removing that last selection. So far, so good, and now let's go over financial modeling, which is supposed to be one of its big strong points. And for this, we'll first start with a more basic example, which is that I have a $600,000 20-year mortgage with a 5% interest. Create an amortization table breaking down the outstanding balance and the interest payment breakdown. So basically we want to see on each month how much we're paying down towards the loan, and how much we have in interest payment. So let's see what it's able to come up with here. After this example, we'll go over a much more complex one with a PDF too. So it looks like it's finished, and right now this looks a bit like a mess because it hasn't formatted the column lengths. So let's go ahead and do that. Column width here, something like 12. And now we can start to analyze this. I think the first problem I see is that over here in the prompt, I put a $sign, and I think this is all in pounds. That should be a fairly easy fix though. Now, when we look towards the actual data, you can see that it's all using formulas, so that seems pretty promising. And for a loan amortization table, in theory, at the very last month, you should have paid off your entire loan. So that's a good way to find out if it's accurate. As the ending balance, you can see in month 240, it's at 0, so that part makes sense. Now, I can make some changes here. So for instance, if I choose 750,000, it should be able to update, and at the very bottom, it should lead to 0. That's all good, but there is maybe one problem. If I change this long term, this is the number of years, to let's say 25 years or 30 years even, then the formulas down here should spill all the way lower down. So we no longer have 240 months, this time we would have 360, right? But actually when we go down here, it hasn't spilled any lower down. Same thing with this part right here. We haven't paid off the entire loan, so that can be quite deceiving. And if you haven't actually built this model yourself, you're probably not going to realize that this is happening. So when you look at, let's say, the total interest you're supposed to pay, it's actually going to give you an answer that's wrong. In my opinion, that's one of the big dangers with using AI, in that if you don't actually know what you're doing in Excel, you can easily get confused because you don't actually understand the data that well. Continuing with financial modeling, we'll now go over a much more complex and realistic scenario. Over here, you can see we have the annual report, which is also known as the 10K form for Apple. And what we wanted to do is extract the financial statements from here. So they're actually around page 34, I think. So this is the income statement. Wanted to extract that, the balance sheet, and a few other statements into Excel and then forecast them out. As you can see right here is for 2024, 2025. So we want to see the forecasted figures going forward. For this, you can see I've added the PDF over on the side, and I've also written using Apple's most recent annual report I've attached, build a clean 3-statement model and forecast it forward 5 years. Use reasonable assumptions where needed, keep inputs separate, and make sure there are no errors. And here's what it's been able to come up with. We've got one tab, which are all of the assumptions. If we look at the historical data, let's see, it says 416,161 for the revenue. If I go over to the PDF statement over here, that's the exact same figure. So that part looks pretty promising. We've got the income statement, it's fully laid out. We've got the balance sheet, and we've also got the cash flow statement. So far, so good, but when we actually look inside of the data, you'll start to see there's a few different problems. First of all, here under the cash flow statement, you can see that all of this part is empty. I'm not sure why that is. If we go over to the balance sheet, which is should be right around this area over here, that's most relevant. I look at marketable securities. These values have been hard-coded even for the forecast years, so that doesn't seem to be exactly right. Same thing with PP&E down below, net. It's actually going into negative territory, which I don't think it should be the case. If I look towards how that formula is being built, you can see it selected this cell and some cells down below, like this supporting schedule cell, but it's actually empty. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Unfortunately, that's not the only mistake that I'm spotting. Actually, when we go down over here, you can see this balance check. So this checks that the balance sheet balances is not 0. So that's a bit concerning over there, even though it is a historical figure and not a forecast one. Towards the bottom under common stock and additional paid-in capital, you can see for the historical years, it's fine. But when we go forward, it's adding this 10,000. I'm not sure why it's doing that manually. And I'm also not sure why it's not explaining what it's doing. So that's another big concern. That's just based on a quick glance. So going back and trying to figure out where all of these errors are, and I'm sure there's a ton more that are hidden, is really quite a tedious process, which really doesn't make this worthwhile. While it is a very impressive start to be able to take the PDF file and convert it into Excel and format it correctly, there are so many hidden errors in here. So that's something that's pretty concerning. Especially if you haven't built the model, it's gonna be really hard for you to identify where the errors are. That's why I think it's very important to learn how to make financial models from scratch. So if you want to learn how to do that, you should check out our complete finance and valuation course, where you learn the essentials of accounting, finance, valuation, and financial modeling in Excel. In the course, first we'll cover financial statement analysis using Apple's real annual report as an example. Then we'll get into financial modeling through a 3-statement model on Apple. After that, we begin the valuation phase where you learn to do a discounted cash flow, a comparable company's valuation, and a precedent transactions valuation on Apple, looking at their real financial statements to eventually derive a valuation range. Lastly, we'll show you how to present an investment thesis using a stock pitch format. So if you're interested in checking this out, head over to the link in the description below. Alright, back to the video. Now going over data analysis using Claude, and here's the file we're working with. And suppose that I want to find out the revenue by category. So what's the sum of revenue for books, the sum of revenue for clothing, etc. And here's the prompt that I'm going to add and hit enter. I also asked it for the total revenue on the bottom, and here's what it's come up with. The formatting does look a bit strange, but let's say that's not the biggest issue. Now we go over the actual formula. It's decided to use a sum if. This wouldn't be my formula of choice. I'm gonna show you which one it would be in a second. Also, the categories here, they're hard-coded. So for instance, if I change this category to fruit, it's not really gonna update there. It's only gonna remove it, but it's not adding a new category. So that's not that good. I think it's good here that it's done the totals, but my formula of choice would have actually been group by. I'm not sure why it didn't want to do that one. The fields would be all of these categories. The values would be all of the revenues. I want the sum of them. And I said I also wanted the total. So what I'm gonna do here under total depth is choose grand totals. Now I hit enter. You can see I have the same answers, but the nice part is that they're dynamic, even the totals on the bottom. So if I change this to a new category called fruits, you'll see that it gets included in here. It also accounts for it in the totals. So overall, it's been able to do the job, but I don't think it's using best practices. And now moving up to creating charts and finally a dashboard at the end. Over here, let's first try to create a chart based on this data. So I'm just gonna select it and say visualize this. Just gonna keep it generic to see what it's able to come up with as the visual. Over here to the side, it's created this chart. Let's see what it looks like. I think it's pretty decent, and that's generally the trend with basic questions. It's able to answer them pretty well. That said, we'll now test it with a much bigger data set for creating a dashboard. Over here, we have a list of the richest people in the world. You can see there's quite a lot of columns and quite a lot of rows too. Over on the side, here's what I'm asking it. Using this data set on the richest people in the world, create a dynamic dashboard extracting some of the key insights, keeping it a bit generic there as the prompt. And what's nice about this example is that I've actually created a dashboard myself based on that exact same data, so I know roughly what is a good dashboard to gauge with. So here's what I've personally done. You can see that it's the billionaire's dashboard. It's got some dynamic elements over on the left-hand side because these are all pivot table filters or slicers. You can see that I can change the region I'm interested in. I can also choose maybe only male billionaires to see here in the dashboard, see how the average age changes versus female billionaires. So all of those are some interesting trends I can play around with. If we look at what Claude's come up with here, it's on this new sheet. You can see that it's found people dynamic dashboard. I think this is just not formatted well. It should be formatted like that to the left. So I think the overall first impression is that it needs a bit of work on the visual side of this formatting. In terms of the actual data, I think it's extracting pretty useful insights, but it's too overwhelming. There's just so much data in no particular order that it's not very clear. Like for instance, why is this part here in yellow? Why is this one only in one color, whereas this is in strip colors? So all of that is a bit hard to understand. Even the visuals down below, I'm not sure. Here, for instance, we have series 1 and series 2, which probably shouldn't be there. So it's really not ready to do this type of more complex visualizations. Overall, for simple tasks like debugging a formula, cleaning a specific column, I think it's a very useful tool. But when it comes to more multi-step processes, like creating a full financial model, extracting it from a PDF, or creating a dashboard, then it really does struggle, especially if your prompt is more generic. That said, this is still in beta mode, so hopefully it keeps improving over time. That said, did you know that Excel also has its own built-in AI, which is this Copilot? And if you want to see how well it performs, you should watch this video over here and compare it with Claude, or you can also check out our AI for Business and Finance course over here. Hit that like and that subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.